Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're taking another look at the Olympus 40-150 F2.8 Pro Lens. It's actually the M Zuiko 40-150 F2.8 Pro Lens. Now, I looked at this about 3 years ago and I put a link up here somewhere to that original review of the 40-150, but I now have the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark III, and I've got it fitted to my Olympus OMD EM1 Mark III, as you can see here, and it's a great combination with this particular camera body. Now, it's a micro four thirds lens, so it'll work with any micro four thirds body, whether it be Panasonic, even Blackmagic, and various other micro four thirds bodies, and Olympus. It pairs very, very well with Olympus bodies simply because it is an Olympus Pro lens. I did actually use it just for the fun of it. I put it on my Olympus EP7, my little tiddly little Olympus EP7 here. Now, it looked absolutely dumb, but I'm going to show you some images a little bit later in this video of images I've taken with the Olympus EP7, and absolutely fabulous. The EP7's got the 20 megapixel sensor. I believe it's the same sensor that's in the EM1 Mark III. So, you know, it's a great sensor and works really well. It's not a backside illuminated sensor like you'll find in the OM1, but it's still a great sensor. And because this lens is a constant f2.8 aperture throughout its entire focal range, it'll work really, really well, whether you're at the full telephoto end or whether you're at the, well, I won't say wide end, but the wider end, because 40-150 in micro four thirds terms is effectively 80-300. So if you imagine the size of an 80-300 f2.8 lens on even an APS-C body, and certainly full frame, would be at least twice the size, twice the weight, and at the very least twice the price. You know, because this in the UK sells for around the £1,000 mark, give or take. It's around £1,000. Fantastic value for money for a pro lens that's exceptionally high quality. And what I'm going to do is put a link to my Flickr page so you can see the images yourself. You can have a take a look at them on Flickr, and you can study them on Flickr much better than you can on my YouTube channel. And you'll see how good the resolution is coming off this lens. And even at its widest aperture, wide open at f2.8, you get incredibly sharp images. The colours are great, the contrast is great. It is a really, really nice lens. And it isn't incredibly heavy. I'll put the weight in the description so you can see how heavy this lens is. It's not incredibly heavy. It does come with an adjustable tripod collar. So you just turn, where can we see that? You can just turn this knob here, and then that will adjust the collar, and you can, and it's got markings so you know exactly where to place the collar, whether you're taking horizontal or whether you're taking landscape, vertical or horizontal images, landscape or portrait images. So you just mark it up against the white dot, you know, and that is great. So you just lock that off. I use it a lot for, you know, when you're walking around, because you can hold it like that, not a problem. Although I generally hold the camera just by its the camera grip, and I find that works really well. You don't need to hold it by the tripod collar, but it has got that collar on, obviously, for mounting it on a tripod if you actually want to do so. The other really, really nice thing I like, I've heard some criticisms about this actually, but I really like the hood, the lens hood, because with most lenses you have to take it off. If you're putting it in the camera bag, you have to physically take it off and then screw it back on or fit it back on. Most of them are bayonet mount, and it can be a bit annoying. But with this one, it's collapsible. Once you've fitted it, it's collapsible. You just give it a twist, then it goes back in the, you know, back over the lens. Absolutely brilliant. I love that. Really nice design. Fully weather sealed the lens is, so you've got no problem with that. And particularly if you've got it fitted to something like the OMD EM1 Mark III, you've got a complete outdoor weather sealed lens. It's marvellous. And the zooming is completely internal, so it doesn't trombone. And again, that's really nice. As you adjust for zoom from 40 to 50, it stays internally. And one of the lovely things with the Olympus Pro lenses, and that would be the 12 to 40 Pro lens that I have, even the 17mm lens, whether 17 isn't classified as a Pro lens, has got it, and also the 7 to 14 Pro lens has, is the manual focus clutch. And again, it's brilliant. So all you do, at the moment that's in autofocus, but if you want to go into manual focus, which you may want to do with a long telephoto lens, push it back towards the camera body, and then you've got your focus scale there, and you're in manual focus. Isn't that nice and easy? Isn't that wonderful? Love that. And I do use manual focus quite often with this particular lens, as I do with some of the other lenses, because manually focusing on the Olympus camera bodies, I will be doing a video about that, but manually focusing on Olympus bodies is easy. It's really, really good. Particularly with the EM1 Mark III, I find it really, really good. So yeah, manual focus control on the front of the lens there, which is really, really good. And on the side, the only button on the lens is this function button, which is great. That's set up in the camera body, so you can tell the camera what function you want that function button to do. I've got mine set up to ISO, so I can very quickly and easily, when I'm in photo modes, push that button in, and then there we go, push that button in, and I can adjust the ISOs. Quite often I'll use it on auto ISO, but if I do need to go to manual ISO, it's just a matter of holding that button in. It's in a great position. A lot of people use it for focus stop, you know, but I use it for adjusting the ISO. That is awesome. So yeah, that's basically an overview of the Olympus M Zuiko 40 to 150 Pro lens. But the images, if we have a quick look at these images, I'm not going to study these images. As I said earlier, you're best off going to my Flickr page, and then you can look at them at your leisure. You can zoom in on them and look at the clarity on Flickr. Now, a lot of these images were taken a few years ago with me OMD EM1 Mark III when we went to devices, but lovely clarity, lovely sharpness, colours, edge to edge sharpness is great. Really, really nice. Really, really nice lens. And you get that lovely creamy bokeh. Because it is a telephoto lens, you know, it's a 80 to 300. Even with micro four thirds, you can achieve that lovely separation between the foreground and the background, and I think that is great. I know a lot of people do get concerned with micro four thirds, that it doesn't create that bokeh, it doesn't create the same aesthetic as what a full frame body would do, and you're quite right, to some extent it doesn't. But when you're using a long lens like this, particularly at the f2.8 aperture, you can create that lovely depth of focus, that lovely separation between the foreground and the background. And I think some of these images, you know, clearly show that. But yeah, you can see there, you know, the foreground is like this, it's very filmic look. It's not a digital look to it. It's got a very natural grain and a very natural filmic look to these images. And you see there, that one I focused on the foreground, and that one there, the background, and the foreground is out of focus, you know. Really, really nice images. And you know, whether you're shooting at the 40mm end or the 150mm end, you get the same sharpness and the same clarity. And because the lens is a constant f2.8 aperture, that's not going to change as you move through the focal range. So even if you're in low light at f2.8, it doesn't matter whether you're at the 300mm end or whether you're at the 80mm end, if you're looking at the full frame term, you know. As I say, they are really, really nice, really, really good. But I'm also going to show you, let's just go to one of these images here. Let's say, let's choose that one. Now that one, we'll choose that one. So why not? These were taken on my EP7, funnily enough. They weren't taken on the EM1 Mark III or the EM1 Mark II. They were taken on this little camera, the EP7. So again, it works beautiful on that camera as it does on any Micro Four Thirds body. But if you wanted to change the sky, now there's a great bit of software which I always highly recommend, and it's called Luminar Neo. Now we'll load it in Luminar Neo, just so we didn't want to do that. Let's go out of that. Oh, click on the right buttons. Right, edit in. Let's edit in Luminar Neo. We'll go to Neo, and we'll edit in TIFF. Lightroom creates a copy so that you're not spoiling the original, but we go into Neo, and I'm going to put in the description below a link to where you can download trial versions of this particular software. So download the trial version, it doesn't cost you anything, have a play with it, and if you do decide you like it and you want to purchase it, use the code AVP to get $10 off your purchase price. That helps me, obviously it helps you because you're saving some money, and it's a great bit of software. It's great value for money anyway, even at its normal price. Really, really good value for money, and it's once you've purchased it, you own it. There's no subscription model to it, which is great. Unlike Lightroom, you're having to pay a monthly subscription for Lightroom. Although saying that, I still use Lightroom. I use it in combination with Luminar Neo, so I use both together. But now we can see it's loaded itself in Luminar Neo. We go into the edit module, and on the right hand side it brings up all these different things you can do, because obviously you can adjust your brightness, your contrast, your exposure. You can remove objects very easily, so it's a very well specified photo editing software. But we go to sky, and then we can replace the sky. That actual sky isn't too bad, but let's say we want to replace it with something a bit more dramatic. We could go with that, put that sky in, and within seconds you've got a new sky. That actually isn't that great a sky, so we'll go with something a little bit better than that. Let's go with that one. And look at that. That's really created a dramatic look to, well, it's obviously not a very exciting image, but we can enhance that using AI technology, and we can give it a lot more oomph, a bit more drama to it. I might overcook it. I know I do get accused of overcooking my images, but we'll click on apply there. And what that'll do, that'll send me back to Lightroom, which is brilliant. So when we're back in Lightroom, I'll show you the difference between the original and that one. Now, with people saying that I overcook my images, I think I do on some of them, but they're for my pleasure. So does it really matter? Of course it doesn't. Edit them to how you want them to look. Unless you're producing images for clients and you're being paid, obviously you've got to produce images that the client wants and the client is happy. Otherwise you don't get repeat business. That pretty much is obvious, really. Yeah, now if we look at these in Lightroom, you can see that's what it's done. That's replaced the sky, and that's how it was. So it wasn't a bad sky anyway, but that's what you can do. Brilliant bit of software. I recommend it all the time. And I say this lens is brilliant. So if you are looking for a telephoto, a long range lens for doing wildlife, for doing sports and that kind of thing, if you are looking for one of those sort of lenses, then you're not going to go far wrong with the Olympus 40-150. Also, it isn't unmanageable. That will still fit in a fairly small medium-sized camera bag, and you're good to go. And with its constant f2.8 aperture, you'll have no problems with it whatsoever. And as I say, and I really do like the collapsible hood. Rather than having to take the hood off, it just collapses and then comes back out. It's one of my favourite features. It's really, really good. Like that a lot. And as I say, very well made. You can get 2 teleconverters that are compatible with this lens. I haven't got them. It's the 1.4 or the 2x teleconverter. So with a 2x teleconverter, that would be, instead of being 40-150, that would be 80-300, wouldn't it? Which is 160-600. What a range that would be. You do lose a certain amount of light, because an f2.8 would then be a 5.6 with a 2x teleconverter. But even then, that's still pretty good, But as it stands, though, without the teleconverter, it's still awesome. So there we go. That's a quick update of the Olympus 40-150 Pro. It's been around quite a while, but the Olympus Pro f2.8 40-150 lens. And as I say, take a look at my Flickr page to see them in more detail on that page. That would be fantastic. So there we go. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Really appreciate that. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, that is also really helpful, and do so. That would be also brilliant. There's lots of videos on my channel about all sorts of different camera brands. I'm not loyal to any particular brand. Out of interest, I know a lot of you do ask me what I film with. Well, today, as I do a lot of my videos now, the close-up shot is on my Nikon ZFC, which is this one here. That's the ZFC with the Nikon 40mm full-frame lens fitted to the ZFC. So that becomes effectively about 60mm on the ZFC. The wide shot has been picked up on my Nikon Z6 with the Viltrox 24mm lens. That's set to APS-C mode, so it's cropped that in just that little bit tighter. That's for Nikon Z6. And over the shoulder here, I've got my Sony A6600 with the Sigma 18-50 lens on. That's getting just like an over the shoulder shot. And then the close-up shots of the products are being filmed on my Sony ZV-1. So that's what I'm using today for filming this particular video. So there we go. Hope you found that useful. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit the like button. Tell all your friends to tune into this channel. That would be helpful. And thanks for watching. Cheers for now. Bye.